Hi and welcome to today's video. Today I wanted to show a product from Etcher. This is not a full review so much because I use it for a specific purpose, but I wanted to show it because I think it's really great. What I have here is an A5 sketchbook from Etcher. Now, Etcher is a company that makes sketchbooks, the watercolor books, you know, hot and cold press, as well as a range of sort of like accessories, like a couple of bags and some, you know, watercolor paints and markers and things like that. But they are best known for their sketchbooks, and there's a reason why, because they are kind of great. So let's have a look at this one. So this is the archival envelope they sort of come with, which is nice because it's protective and it's got a nice look to it, and it's kind of sturdy. And then, as I said, this is a notebook. This is a sketchbook I've been using for a few weeks, or a number of weeks now. So it's got some life marks on it and stuff like that, which is what I will sort of also come back to. And just the elastic got a little bit skew with there. But this is the A5 cold press sketchbook. So on the outside, you can see it is a cotton fabric cover, which can be painted on and designed. Actually, on Instagram, Etcher have a very good social media presence, and you can see on Instagram a number of people have done amazing artwork on the covers of these books. Myself, I will eventually, a little hesitant because like once you do it, it's kind of done, and that's how the sketchbook stays. So that's how I'm going to leave it until I know exactly what I want to do with it. These are vegan friendly, very important, and they contain 52 pages or 26 sheets, and they can be used double-sided in this book, even if you use wet media, of 230 GSM acid-free 100% cotton paper. As you can see, it's got an elastic closure on the front and a bookmark ribbon and a lovely little embroidered llama on the front there, which I think is absolutely great. Now, these are ideal for mixed media, such as ink and watercolor and stuff like that. So that's basically what I've been using it for. I've been using it to do ink art, where I sketch and use water to create washes and things like that. So as I said, this is the cold press version. Now, cold press is a more textured paper, and it is most often used for things like watercolor art. And the texture allows for shaping and details and things like that. Whereas the hot press version, which they also make a range of, is a more fine-grained smooth paper, good for like large washes of color and that sort of stuff, but also shading and drawing with dry media. So I use the cold press here because I mainly use wet media, ink and things like that. The dimensions of this is A5, so it's 14.8 by 21 centimeters or 5.8 by 8.3 inches, and it's a landscape format, so the binding on the short edge here. The book weighs about 430 grams or 0.9 of a pound, so it's a sort of a fairly decent sort of size, and it's also available in A4 and an A6 version, which is really great, which is going to be probably my next purchase of these. So let's just have a quick look. So another good thing about these books is that they're designed to sort of lay flat in this binding. It does take a little bit of coaxing. You can see that they're sewn in, but you can get it to sit flat in this landscape format, which is really handy, or flat sort of ish. But it's a really good sort of build quality, and it's sturdy and rugged, and it's not sort of you don't feel like you're ever going to treat this thing too badly. So this is the kind of thing that I have been doing, which I do sort of drawings of animals where I'll sketch out in fountain pen ink and then sort of use a water brush pen to sort of wash that around a little bit, creating effects. So you can see, firstly, you get a lot of vibrancy still from the color, and because it's, clearly you can use both sides, like nothing's coming through there, nothing's coming through there, but you can move the ink around quite a lot to create lovely washes. And the same goes with watercolor ink, which I'm going to show in a second. On the back page, I'm just going to do a sample of watercolor paint and then a little bit of ink, but you can see how beautifully sort of those inks sort of move around and create lovely effects. So it's good quality paper, it's well made, it's got some nice interesting design features, and I think that they, for what they're trying to do, being mixed media books, I think they do a really lovely job. Let's it's also got a good sort of back pocket on it, so to keep bits and pieces, and I generally tend to keep things like, you know, an extra sheet of watercolor paper, just standard watercolor paper, to like, you know, move ink and pick some ink up off the paper and stuff like that for washes and things like that. Or you could include blotting paper or tracing paper or anything that you sort of use in that back pocket. But what I thought I would quickly do is just a sample of a little bit of ink, and then watercolor paint, just to show you. So I have here just Faber-Castell Ondoro fountain pen, and in this is Color Traveler ink, Time for Whiskey, which is a lovely sort of orange brown. So what I thought I'd do is I just do, like, this isn't, I'm not doing artwork here, but this is the kind of thing that I find. You know, so like if I just do a couple of little patterns, and do some lighter, and then a bit more of a pool of ink. And then I take another Faber-Castell product, because I love them. This is the Faber-Castell water pen. And so you can see the ink moves around nicely. You're able to get sort of nice shading effects. And then once it sort of has dried a little bit, you can move it around just a tiny little bit extra for extra sort of shading and, you know, color change and those sorts of things. But one thing you always sort of get is a really nice, like, sense of some of the detail on this paper, because it is, you know, a rougher paper. It's more coarse. The ink does attach itself to the paper, so you never get like a complete wash. Even there where I did light, you can still see that where the lines were, which I think is a really nice feature, particularly for the kind of art I do. But now let's have a quick look at some watercolor. So I just have a Koh-i-noor dry watercolor palette there. I'll just put some green on another water brush pen here. And like you can see that the watercolor paint attaches itself nicely, but you can get nice wash. You know, it still moves around relatively well. But once again, you are able to get sort of definition and fine line for detail if that's what you're after. And like we all do different kinds of work with our artwork and go after different things, but this is what the cold press paper will do with these media. You can also, like, if you need to do a grey lead you know, guide, it does erase fairly well, and because it is because it's a you know, sort of a, you know, a good sort of quality, you know, cotton paper, it can take multiple washes, and so you're not sort of at fear of, like, well, also sort of, you know, making its way through the page or destroying the page or anything like that. It's really top quality paper, 230 GSM. Okay, let's talk about some slight pros and cons with this book. So the cons, look, these retail, the A5, 3 A5 books for $78. Getting a mixed set of hot and cold is tricky. You can get a mixed set of different sizes, but they are on the pricier side, needing to get 3. They're not sold individually. And of course, the bigger books are more expensive. But in comparison, like at a price of, you know, one costing just over $25, it's not a bad price in comparison to other books on the market. The other thing is, the two other things, firstly, that like the cover will pick up your life. So, you know, you get bits of paint, you get bits of like general life stuff. It's going to happen. But the fact that you can paint them is actually also a really nice feature. And the other thing is that they're only landscape. There's no sort of long bound version of these books yet. The pros, it handles wet media really well. So as you can see, ink handles really well, gives you nice definition, nice wash, all of that sort of stuff. The cover can be decorated, which is great. It's got nice heavy quality 230 GSM paper, which performs beautifully. It can lay flat, you know. So if you work that book through, it's the type of binding it is opens up on itself, so you can get it to lay flat fairly, you know, without too much of an issue. As I said, the cotton paper takes multiple washes, so you are, you know, able to use these in quite a heavy way. Also, it's a nice build quality. It's got some nice little details. The elastics are good quality. The binding is good. You never feel like anything's going to fall out or fall apart, and you can treat this book, you know, fairly, I wouldn't say roughly, because I wouldn't want to, but you can be quite rugged with it. I really like this. I'm going to be using Etcher for a while. I think they make really nice books, as well as exploring other books for my particular art, but Etcher at the moment, I think this is a really nice option, and I think it presents really nicely, and I'm looking forward to seeing what I can eventually do sort of with the cover of this book to make it quite interesting. So, as I said, this is the Etcher Sketchbook A5, version. 3 of these for $78 Australian, decent price, at 52 pages of 230 GSM cold press acid-free cotton paper. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me on any of my videos here, or drop me an email which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, please get in touch. I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy your art, and I'll talk to you soon.